Hello, everyone. um, we're gonna get this stream going here. Today has been the day from hell, the morning from hell, I guess. Just everything has gone wrong for me today, and I've confirmed once again. You guys don't know about this, but just I've confirmed once again that I am the most cursed human. I'm not. There's way more cursed people than me. But when it comes to certain things, just feels that way sometimes, doesn't it? You're hearing echo. That's not good. Let me know how the audio is, guys. Everything has failed on me today. I have today. You're not getting any echo. Okay. So today, this morning, I spilled coffee on myself. I managed to drop a bagel on the floor. I seemingly had an amplifier blow up on me, like to the point where smoke was coming out of it. I ran into all kinds of trouble with my whole setup here because I just recently I completely rebuilt my whole setup. I switched from an AMD system to an Intel system. Maybe we can talk about that later. But as a result, there's been some teething pains with getting everything else kind of set up, and that's resulted in all kinds of different issues. What else? I was trying to measure a headphone, and well, okay, we won't necessarily get into that. But man, it's just one of those days, you know. What amp? It was the THX AAA1 amp, and yeah, I hadn't used it in a long time, but I was troubleshooting something, and so I swapped to it, and then like after about 5 seconds of playback, it just went just it stopped working. So that's great. I don't know why. But anyway, so that amp is dead. Yeah, I couldn't tell you what's going on there. I mean, it might have some, I haven't used that one in ages, so but it was working when I was using it before. So yeah, I'm cursed. When do you review the DCA E3? I'm not entirely sure. I'll be doing a full video because we do have one already on the channel from DMS. Is my white balance totally messed up? What is going on with? Oh my god! Does this look really wrong to you guys? Apart from the fact that your boy is looking the way he'd be looking. White balance looks fine. White balance is yes. All right, so today's stream is going to be about the Dusk, and yeah, there's some stuff behind the scenes today that was particularly awful to deal with. But we're going to talk about the Dusk today in the stream, and it's going to happen. But we're also going to, I'm not going to be showing you guys the measurements of it in this video, in this live stream. That's going to be reserved for the full video. But we will have listener join us once he gets home from his other job. And we will discuss the Dusk together once he's here. And we may, I haven't decided yet, we may show the measurements that he's done of his unit. I'm still struggling with the setup that I have here. And yeah, I need to basically set up some additional things to make it so that I can do measurements while streaming. But that will happen. It's just that, yeah, today it's going to be subjective impressions only. And there's a lot to cover in this one, but that's what we're going to do. So if you're looking for the measurements, let me just let you guys know that Crinacle already has the measurements up on both 5128, 4620 measurements and 711 measurements on his site. What you will get from us is how the various different things perform relative to the preference bounds. So how the various different presets, for example, with the DSP function. Because I mean that data also exists, but we want to see how it does relative to preference bounds. So yeah, we're gonna listen to some music today. That's really what I want to get into, and then yeah, I'll see if I can do some just off the top of my head comparisons. But first of all, so Dusk, and as people say, die busk. And there was something I should probably address. Like, people say, oh, Crinacle is a friend of the channel. We've actually sponsored his site or his channel, sponsored his videos, sponsored his measurement rigs. So, we are bound to say nice things about his stuff. The reality is that that's not the case. Is my camera, like, again, everything is broken for me. So I apologize. Yeah. Maybe I can fix this right on the fly. Seemingly not. My camera is now choppy. I'm sorry. But yeah, people are sort of questioning that, and I get it. But if you look at the previous coverage that we've done of his collabs, they have not all been positive. So I want to give a rundown of kind of like how I felt about his collabs. So I liked the original Dusk quite a bit. I liked the some of the other ones that he did with I'd say the Dusk is probably the best one, but I also liked the Truthier Project Red. So not the blue one. I did not like the blue one, but I liked the red one. I was not a fan of the Dioko. I was a fan of the 02s in terms of their tuning, but I didn't like the shell design, and I didn't like the Singolo. So that's how I feel about those collabs. And so Crinacle knows that we're not going to pull punches, and I don't think he would want us to, essentially. Midnight in the Eclipse. I did not evaluate the one from KZ. Is that one of them? I believe I did evaluate the one from Fio. I thought it was okay. I didn't like the treble, but I thought it was okay. Dusk can't compete with EM6L smooth treble. I mean, really? Smooth treble? I would grant that the overall treble balance, like, it's too much in the lower treble and in the, like, I don't know, around 5K. But I will grant that, like, the overall balance is kind of smooth. So that's good. Midnight is C audio. Yeah. If I remember correctly, I liked the C audio one a bit more than the Theo one. Correct me if I'm wrong, listener. One of them was good, one of them was not, if I recall, and I don't remember which one. But yeah, that's basically how I feel about them. And so the Dusk, I liked the previous Dusk. I thought it was a good, I thought it was a good improvement on the Blessing 2. And now we have the Dusk 2. A key thing here is that this is not the Blessing. It no longer is the Blessing designation part of it. This is now just Moondrop Dusk. But I'm thinking of it as Dusk 2 because otherwise it's confusing. So, Dusk 2. So, you get the cartoon child on the box, of course. This is par for the course these days. For some reason, this is what companies are putting on IEMs. And maybe we can think of this as Crinacle as a waifu. I don't know if Crinacle is quite as I don't know what the word is. I don't know if Crinacle's quite as I don't know if I would say he's quite as interesting as this looks. Or maybe just interesting in different ways. But yeah, you get the cartoon child. And then on the back you get the different presets. So the measurements. And that is, of course, very, very good to have. It's always good when companies do that. And so we have, it looks like he's used both 711 here and 4620, 5128 stuff. Interestingly, he's using the tilt plus boost method for the 5128 data, which is not a bad way to go. But if you think about where the filters were for the Harman research, it's not exactly in those spots. I don't think, but there's a similar element to that, so people can kind of come up with their own. I think he's gone for a fairly neutral-ish, like if you look at the bass to treble delta for what most people prefer, that's pretty close to that for the tuning here. So let us open up the box. Tilt plus boost is better than Harman. I mean, for Harman, yeah, I would. This is again just me saying this, but I much prefer tilt plus boost over Harman 2019. I like the IE curve. Harman over ear is great. Harman in ear, I don't like. That's just not tolerable to me. Like, as soon as I hear something that's Harman IE, with one exception, and it was the Simgon EM6L, but even that one I needed to EQ it. Yeah, they just don't work for me at all. But, you know, for some people they might, right? And in fact, I know that there are some people who are okay with it. Sorry, this is stuck in the... Yeah, there we go. All right, let me just pull this stuff out of the box here. So you get a nice leather case, and this is one of the nicer cases that I've come across. I like the leather. By the way, the price for this, I should say, is around 300. Is it 360? Someone can let me know. Let me know in the live chat. Is it either 350 or 360? I can't remember exactly. But then yeah, you get 2 sets of cables, and you get the different tips in here. By the way, where are they? Speaking of the tips. This is for listener. I did pick up these. So, we'll see how they do. But, yeah, for those who are unaware, the Dusk 2, you get both the regular cable, like 3.5 millimeter, which is nothing special. But then you also get the effectively Moondrop free DSP cable, which had some issues when it first came out. I believe that they have made some improvements to it, but the idea is that you run this directly to your phone with USB-C or whatever you would want to run it to. So we'll do that. But that is... Let's see if there's anything else. There's some documentation. What is this? You get a QC card. QC number 8. So, it's special. There's a bunch of... What is this? This is like a bunch of cardboard that's been put together. Okay, so you get more Cartoon Children. Cartoon Child number... Well, it's the same one. And then you get... whoa. I don't know if I can show this. Oh, no. No, I can. I get another Cartoon Child. It's just like the usual stuff that you get for, like, you know, how to insert it and stuff like that. All the nonsense that nobody reads. Okay, that is what comes with the thing. I'm just gonna double check that there's not anything else in here. We'll go over the driver configuration in just a second. Is that it? That is, I believe that is it. Yes. Okay. So, actually, does it say on the box? Maybe easier. So with this one, you get 2 dynamic drivers for the bass, 2 balanced armatures, and 2 planar magnetics, which is interesting. So now my understanding for the reasoning behind this is it allows for a little bit more flexibility in the lower treble. And that is music to my ears, so we'll see. I do also want to give a bit of a disclaimer here that this is not the first time that I've heard this product. I did hear it at Can Jam New York, but there was a bit of confusion surrounding that unit, so I'm not sure entirely if that one was representative or if it was a prototype. But what the... So for the tips, like, am I missing something, or is... Count the tips. You get 3 sets, seemingly. I think more should have been included. Is this the Blessing 2, Dusk 2, Crinacle 2? Yeah, that's one way to think of it. Spring tips, yeah. So let's try them out. I gotta say, like, I know Crin likes these tips. I am mixed on them. I've had not the best luck with them, but as I mentioned, I have those other ones to try. And let me just pop them on here and I'll show you guys the IEM because the shell design here is very exquisite. All right, so this is the shell design. And I gotta say, I mean, it's a massive IEM. Like, this is a large boy. But for the faceplate, it is very cool. I love the way that this looks. Sort of like a charcoal-like design. Really nice, in my opinion. If my camera focuses on it, there we go. So that's really cool. If you look closely, you can actually see some of the, it's because it's transparent, right? You can see the, some of the electronics in here, you know, what they've done. So there's a lot of stuff going on in here. There's the dynamic drivers right there. Seemingly in an isobaric configuration, but I could be wrong about that. Maybe? It does look like it. And you get BAs. I can see the BAs. I'm looking for the planars. Where are they? They're in there, but they're small. I don't see them. But presumably they're in there. So, very cool. Let me just, because folks want to know. Check out the nozzle girth. So nozzle girth is actually not too bad. It's 5.6 millimeters. So less than, yeah. Well, 5.6, 5.7. Yeah. Depending on, like, if I go right to the end, 5.7. See if you guys can see this. 5.7. Length is 5.1. But I've never had an issue with the Blessing style of shell design, and this is very similar. This is, I don't have the other one handy, but this looks very similar to that. It just looks more chunky, like width-wise, like larger. Like, it looks like they had to put more stuff in, so the faceplate is like further out. But Crin's girth was too much for another reviewer. Who? Like, it's funny because, like, I have issues with the, like, the Singolo and Hexa designs, but I didn't have any issues with the Blessing designs. So, how's the weight? It's not super heavy. It's pretty light compared to, like, if anybody's tried the Dunu Glacier, that thing is so heavy. Alright. This is with the basic cable. Would probably help if I put the other tip on. Like I said, today has been one of those days. One of those days. Tips, yeah. We just listen tipless. Okay. Fit is good. I do not have issues. This feels comfortable. Stays in there. The cable doesn't feel particularly premium. I'm just going to say that. It feels a bit, you know, not great. But maybe the assumption here is that most people are going to be using the Moondrop, this one, the digital, the DSP cable, which feels better. Okay. So what are we going to listen to? Hopefully, well, we'll get whatever copyright issues on this stream. I don't care. Give me some suggestions. Music suggestions. Sign sweeps. I will be doing them in this video. I will be doing sweeps. No, not Daft Punk. Daft Punk is awful. No, I shouldn't say that. It's not awful. It's just overplayed. Steven Wilson. Somebody with reasonable taste. Okay. Steven Wilson it is. Harmony Codex. Would probably help if I had my DAC selected. There we go. I mean, Golden, what do you think? Is it... I don't care if the stream gets claimed. It's not monetized anyways. So... I don't want it to get muted. That's the issue. So I might not. Why are the streams not monetized? Well, this one isn't because I figured I'd be playing music. They could be monetized, but also I don't want ads to be running through live streams. That's annoying. I feel like that's just... I hate it when that happens to me, so... All right. So, first impression is it sounds... This is with the analog mode. The first thing that comes to mind is there's something in the treble that I do not like, and that is a surprise to absolutely nobody. But this isn't in the usual spot for me. This is in the upper treble area that to me is... It's like there's an extra... It's not like sibilant or imbalanced or offensive. It's just like an extra crispiness that I would say is... deviates from natural or deviates from normal slightly. It's not like some where it's just like shrill or glaring. It's not like that. I don't find this to be fatiguing in that respect at all. I don't find it shouty from this initial listen. I'll listen more, of course, but I do find there to be something in the upper treble there, or mid to upper treble, that is a bit like crunchy. I love doing these subjective streams because I can use words like crunchy to describe audio. Then for the bass, it sounds good in the bass. I don't have issues. And the mids are very present and very clean and clear sounding, and I don't get that usual like ultra lean character from mid-range tunings that have too much over mid-range. Not yet, at least. I will listen to more recordings. So let's do that now. 1 second. I need another suggestion. I might leave this one muted for now, just because until I get to the bottom of like what the practice is. Because like I'm getting mixed messages on that. Can resolve your 16K. My hearing caps out right under 17K. So 16.5, that's something like that. Jack White, Lazaretto. I'm gonna listen to that. This is a fun track. Yeah, so I'm being told that I'm not allowed to play the music live, so we're not going to. But I'm still listening to them, so there's that. So far, so good. I'm just going to switch to one that I'm very familiar with, Change the World, Eric Clapton. That's my usual test track. Yeah, right away there's that extra crispy upper treble-y bit. But the bass is like nice and tight and punchy, thumpy. I like it. I'm listening for shout here, or glare. Nothing. No shout or glare to my ear. Wow. Yeah, that's analog. All right. Yeah. Okay. I for the tuning, like this is pretty solid all around. For like bass and mids. For the treble, uh, I'm not getting the usual issues that I have with treble, so it could be the way that this fits for me is already an improvement over certain of the other IEMs where the length mode issue gets exacerbated because of how they're fitting. Um, but I do hear that extra sort of crunchy and crispy mid treble and upper treble or upper treble. I don't know if it's mid treble or upper treble. And I think that may come across as more detail to people, but to me, I can just very easily identify what that is. It's like if you listen to like cymbal hits, this track from Eric Clapton, "Change the World," is a very good one for identifying that. If you think about percussive hits and cymbal hits, the upper ends of the harmonics for those tones get enhanced over the rest of the harmonics below it, and enhanced over the fundamentals for those tones. It's not a major issue. It's not like it creates like it actually sounds very airy as a result, right? I think this is the far lesser of two evils. It's much worse to have it be the other way around, where your fundamental tones are like emphasized, or like lower harmonics are emphasized over the resonant tones above it. But yeah, think of it like just the upper edges of percussive tones are just enhanced. It's like this has been said many times before, but I think it's true here. It's like if someone drew an outline around the percussive hits. That's what it sounds like. And again, that's going to be hit and miss depending on the person, because this isn't one where it sounds timbrally incorrect as a result or anything like that. So your voice to text butchered that. Now I want to know what it said. Okay, so that's that. Let me swap to the DSP cable, right? And we'll get into that here. And I gotta be quick because I think listener is joining in about 30 minutes. So you were never gonna be able to hear it from the DSP cable, anyways. Yeah, SA6 Mark IIs were not that great. They were a step down from the original, in my opinion. I'm just getting the cable going here. Yeah, I'll try the presets. We'll give that a shot. I may need to figure out this cable first, though, and download the software. Or the app, or whatever it is. Almost like someone knew what they were doing, Joel. That someone being Crinacle. Faceplate any good? Is it attached well? I mean, it does cause a bit of. I like the faceplate a lot, but there are parts with the faceplate like edge, like where it Yeah. Like you can see here. Oh, I'll see if you can. Like you see how it's not perfectly flush there for where the black, the bottom. Well, you guys can't really see this, can you? It's a subtle thing. It's not perfectly flush, and then on this side as well, or the black, on the bottom. You can see this better here. That black bottom part is in the that's not part of the faceplate, right? And it's not perfectly flush all the way around. So that's just something to note. But I don't think that that's an issue. Okay. I almost tried to plug that into my amplifier. That would not have gone well. All right. And I'm running this with an Android phone. Some Samsung one that I don't like. Samsung S22 Plus, I think. All right. Let's see if... Does anybody know what app I need to download for this? Or do I? Golden, where you at? Oh, it's an APK? Are you serious? Should just be something that can download. Might be on the box. Nope. Might be in the documentation that nobody reads. Should be a QR on the box. Yeah, no, there's no QR on the box. Not that I can find. But it might be in the documentation. Yeah, in the papers. Moondrop Link is what it's called. Alright, let's see. Yep, there we go. Let's give this a shot. This is all in Chinese. Upgrade QQ first is what it says. Okay, 1 second. If I had some feedback, it would be beneficial to have a QR code somewhere on the box. Yeah, this is not going anywhere. Nothing is happening. So far, this has not gone well. Is the site down? Upgrade to QQ first. Translate. Okay, here we go. New version. Suitable for most devices. File might be harmful. Okay. Downloading. Moondrop. Do you want to install? Yes. Allow access. Yep, Moondrop can have all of my data. Everything. Okay. Turn on Bluetooth. Why do you need Bluetooth? Okay. Dusk. All right. Allow permissions. Good. Done. All right. EQ. Dusk default. Let's give this a shot. Great success, guys. Great success. Volume is too low. The volume is not on because I'm using my phone. Allow access. Yes, I've allowed access so many times. Now, there we go. I'll listen to the same song. So we're listening to the default preset with the DSP cable. That's way too loud. Let's just turn that down. Oh, my microphone volume's low? Let me see if I can fix that. Again, as I mentioned, like, I changed everything in the last couple of days. Alright, how's this? Is that better? Should be better. If my audio is low, just turn your volume up. All right, it's much better with DSP. And someone's asking, is it less detailed than with analog? No, it is. It is a better experience. Yeah, no. This is much better. DSP is really good. The bass is tighter, like more. Like as a result of the bass being tighter, it is also more impactful, punchier, more. It has more gumption. Not more bass. It doesn't sound like it has higher bass level. But it is more visceral, more tactile, if that makes sense. So yeah, DSP is definitely the way to go. I instantly prefer this. This sounds a lot more balanced, clearer, like just generally clearer. Is the treble better with DSP? Let me keep listening. Better? I don't know. Yes. It's funny. That crunch aspect is improved. I would say it's smoother in that sense, but I almost it almost sounds like things got slightly less precise in the lower treble as a result as well. So like the consonant tones were sharper before at a cost of the crunchiness and crispiness up top. Now the consonant tones are slightly smoothed over, but the overall like treble like relationship between mid treble and upper treble is better. So it's weird. Like, yes, I would say the treble is better than with analog because that's immediately more noticeable. But I could also see people preferring that if they're looking for that kind of like, you know, drawing an outline around the consonant tones or the cymbal hits and stuff like that. Let me listen to another track with vocals as well, because hearing where like the S's, F's, and T's are a good indication of the mid treble usually. It's not exclusively that, but often is. So now I'm listening to Midnight at the Oasis. Man, I love the way that the mid-range comes across on this with the DSP now. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is better. This is so much better. DSP is not only with Samsung. DSP is just part of the cable. So, and they have the app, right? All right. Yeah, so here's how I would describe it. The treble is more balanced with the DSP, but it is more yeah, but more crunchy with the analog. That's really all I could say. Like, it sounds like with the analog there is a feature, a key feature in the upper treble that I perceive as an imbalance. That doesn't seem to be the case with the DSP going on. But again, there could be people who would prefer that. I don't know. I definitely prefer it with the DSP cable. Yeah. All right. Now I'm just going to show you guys. So this is what the app looks like. And so there's a couple different presets there. So that's default. Let me just swap over to Harman. And I'm going to listen to those same tracks. I don't know if that actually applied it. Huh. I'm not sure if this is actually working for changing the DSP. Dusk V apply. Hmm. Can you show what the DSP settings are so we can use it in other tools like EQ, APO, and Rune, etc.? Doesn't seem to be. No. Well, maybe I'm like like if I try and go into PEQ, it doesn't show me anything. So like, hold on, let me pause it. So like it shows the dusk here, right? So like it recognizes the device, right? Oh, if I can, there we go. By the way, Moondrop Joker is not good, but it shows the dusk here, and so you can either click on it, and then it gives you a bunch of presets. I'm not seeing anything in here that actually tells me what is being changed, which is a shame, but this whole software is extremely janky. I'm just going to say it's... I'm going to keep listening, though. I'm going to try the bass plus. Ooh. Class 2 listeners are going to like that, I think. This is weird, man. It's like sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I don't know what to make of this cable or this DSP thing. And now it's frozen. This app. Now I can't even get into the thing. It's like it's not letting me get into the. It's what? What? Okay, I'm gonna just restart the app. Let's try this again. All right. Yeah, I'm back in. So, like, I bet listener, you go with bass plus the whole time, right? Just 24 dB, bass to the max. It's too bassy, it's boomy, and yeah, I don't like it. But class 2 listeners might. Second class listeners. All right. Let me try Harmon again. Yeah, as soon as it goes to Harmon, it sounds lean and glary and just like I would never choose this. I don't understand. The default is so much better. Just shrill and glary. No. Maybe for somebody, you know, there are people obviously who prefer this tuning, but it does not work for me. I will say this is better than some other ones that I've heard that are Harmon like. All right, I'm gonna guess that. Now I'm not sure which one you prefer, and I want to guess. Oh, you definitely prefer Dusk default over diffuse field or diffuse tilted. Yeah, it's not as shouty as variations. Like if I go to the Harmon preset, it's shouty, glary, but not as shouty as the variations. So if you like Harmon and you like the variations but find it to be a bit shouty, this might be a better option for you. Sorry if it sounds like I'm yelling, but because I'm listening to music here while we're doing this. Gonna go to a different track here, the one I listened to earlier. Like what happens with Harmon is that it accentuates the bass a bit because it gives it that contour, and overall the balance is a little bit more V-shaped. But there's also a V setting here, so I'm gonna try that in a sec. Yeah, this is better. To me, this is better than the variations. Oh, I'm clipping? Okay, thanks. Yeah. I need to come up with a better microphone setup here because it's like the issue with the Motu is that like all of its gain is in the last like 2% of the turn. Oh, now I wonder if you like the V-shaped one. No, you don't like the V-shaped one, listener. But, okay, the V-shaped one is better than the Harmon one. I think this is a useful tool, like for people to figure out what kind of sound signature they like, because they are all very different, and like clearly Dusk default, you get more lower mid range, you get more of that sort of like, I don't know how to describe it. It sounds more like 650-ish of the for the lower mids. And then when you go to Harmon, it's like it scoops that whole section out. So the mids overall sound quite a bit more lean, and it's more bass and treble focused, but bass and ear gain focused. And then I go to V, and it's like actually V-shaped though, with like bass and treble. And then I go to bass plus, and that's just for like people who are just bass heads, and I would say generally this is bad. Generally, the bass plus mode is not good, but people might like that. I don't know. And then there's the diffuse tilted, which is interesting. Like, to me, the most interesting ones here are diffuse tilted and dusk default. Dusk default sounds like diffuse tilted just with extra bass. Maybe that's what it is. I clip when I'm smiling. I know. I'm telling you. Like, and the crazy thing is I even have a filter set here to... It should be minus 2 dB for the threshold. I have a limiter set here. So it should be preventing it, but it's not. So, won't. Yeah, like, I would say I would take the V-shaped preset here over the Harman preset, personally. No, bass plus is a meme. Like this is silly. Like, bass plus is that's. If you like that, I will judge you. No, I'm just kidding. If you like what you like, people will like it, but I definitely do not like that. Harman sounds expectedly shrill and lean. Dusk V sounds like what I would want V-shaped tuning to be if I liked V-shaped tunings. Like, that seems reasonable to me. And then I go to Dusk Default, and that sounds more neutral with a bass boost. And then I go to Dusk Diffuse Tilted, and I'm not sure how I feel about this one. I think this will be like for class 3 listeners, for people who want less bass, but still want like a neutral, even balance. That's what this one is. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm joking about like yeah, I'm joking about like judging you for liking bass plus if somebody does, but it is way too much for me. Oh, it's 5128 DF. Yeah, so like class 3, like people who like less bass relative to treble is what I would say. How is the imaging? How is the soundstage? How's all that stuff? Guys, none of that stuff is real. Okay, I shouldn't say that. All right. I'm done listening. I have a sense. I have my conclusion here. And yeah, I think you're right. Like, I'm clipping on the... Okay, let me know if it's still clipping, because, like, this is an issue that I need to fix. It shouldn't be. Yeah, so, like, for soundstage and imaging, okay, the description of the spaciousness effect. Because, again, soundstage and headphones and IEMs is not... You don't have actual localization the way you do with speakers at a distance. But I would say it's fine. It's not like intimate. It's not like, super weird or anything. It's fine. And as far as the image placement and stuff, nothing felt weird to me either. No, like I say the same thing about headphones. Like, soundstage is a meme. We should stop caring about it. And people who care about soundstage have skill issues. That's my spicy take. Someone's gonna clip that. I apologize. But no, to me, it's like, as long as it isn't awful, it's fine. It's not worth over focusing on. It's real, just kind of real. Yeah. So like the spaciousness effect is real. Absolutely, the spaciousness effect is real. I'm not gonna say that it's not. But trying to, like, if you score heavily for soundstage or like, image localization, you're gonna have a bad time. It's like not really something that I care that much about. Because it doesn't really exist in headphones and IEMs the way it does in speakers. DSP cable feels nicer, 3.5. Yes, I agree. The DSP cable feels much nicer. Yeah, actually, I mean, people don't realize this, and people are upset about the soundstage thing. um, the soundstage thing is like, there are two factors. One is frequency response, and one is a psychoacoustic thing. As someone says it there, yeah, it's a psychoacoustic perception of a thing. Yeah, and so for the we can call it what we want. We can call it head stage, spaciousness, soundstage, or whatever. That effect is a real effect that people can identify, and you can actually record this effect. But let's not pretend that that is like real localization in speakers. That's all I'm saying. Like the sound still originates in your head because you're wearing the thing, right? If you turn your head, it comes with you. So you're not getting localization. There, yeah, actually, I'd be curious to do tests on people with those headphones that have like the localization factor, like where it like stays consistent even though you move your head, like the Odyssey one. That was kind of cool, but kind of a gimmick too. And if you want to understand that better, there's an article from listener that you should read about. Well, it's actually it's Teal. People need to read Gunter Teal's paper on psychoacoustics. You disagree with Blaine that head tracking is essential for soundstage to be real? Well, it depends what you mean by soundstage. If you mean like the spaciousness effect, yeah, I don't think you need head tracking for that. Like if you like whatever the HD 800S effect is, right? You don't need head tracking for that effect to be real and also like replicatable in other headphones. And people will report probably that it is a more spacious sound, right? Like it's real, but like that's not. There's a categorical difference between that and like binaural recordings or like if you're listening to binaural recordings or like Atmos or speakers at a distance. You know, like I think there are very real things. Are you saying that you think there's a way to spoof, like through frequency response adjustment to spoof the effect of binaural, or like for different directional? I mean that you can add real directional cues and they can work without head tracking. I would say yes, but only for like. What I've experienced is like you can affect the sound to be here, and then you can also kind of affect the majority of the sound to be here, right? And I think that that's just a function of frequency response and psychoacoustics. But I think you can replicate that effect. But I don't think that you can, unless you're gonna like completely bite the bullet on timbre and just say I don't care about tone color or things sounding correct or natural even in the slightest. You know, I think basically you're gonna have to trade off on that no matter what. So, okay, let me give my sort of general thoughts here, conclusions on the on the Crinacle DUSK 2. I almost said Blessing to Dusk 2. That's basically what it is. Okay, how do I feel about this? Probably the IEM to beat at $350 or whatever it's at. Is there anything that I would choose above it? I mean, yeah. I think if you're only going to use this in analog, I think while it's still competitive, I wouldn't say that this would be necessarily what I would choose under $500 if you're only using it in analog. And I'm not sure. Someone remind me how expensive the High Senior Mega Fest is, but that one probably deserves more attention. But for DSP, it becomes challenging to think of something under $500 that I would choose over this. The Audio Hype 4. Yeah. If you're just doing analog, the Audio Hype 4. I kind of like the bass better on the Dusk. They both have issues in the upper treble. I would actually argue that the Hype 4 has more issues in the upper treble, but the mid-range tuning and the lower treble tuning on the Hype 4 is excellent. So I would say, yeah, I would put the Hype 4 on the list of things to consider if you're just going to run an analog. What else? If you would want something that is more downward tilted, yeah, I'd go up to the High Senior Megafest, I think. Because the listener, correct me if I'm wrong, but the High Senior Megafest doesn't have the issues in the upper treble that the Dusk does. Right? What are the advantages of analog? Nothing. But you use them with your traditional amps and DACs and stuff like that. I don't like the Kato's treble or Kato's treble. But for the rest of it, I quite like it. Mid treble issues, not upper treble. Okay. So yeah, it depends on what you're scoring for. The DSP cable will compensate for the Dusk. If you have any other IEM, it will sound weird, I suppose. So okay. Yeah, I mean, there's no scenario where I would take the Moondrop Variations without EQ over the Dusk 2 or whatever we're calling this one. Like the Moondrop Variations, I think it's fine, like for that kind of sound. Like it does a very good job of that Harman-like tuning. But I would never use that without EQ. Like it just no. But if you're the kind of person who likes the Harman-like tuning, then then it would be a tough comparison, right? I think you would probably prefer the Variations. So what I would say is, if you're going to use the Dusk with the DSP cable, that's a cheaper entry point to that kind of tuning, right? And actually, I would argue that it does it better than the Variations. I don't know if Crinacle would agree with me, but I kind of think that that's the better. It's less shouty somehow to me. And maybe it's just because of the length mode and the air volume difference for me, right, for my ear canal. But yeah. Would you say the Hype 4 is the best buy in the $400 range? Yeah. I mean, best, I don't know about best, but up there. It's one of the best. Hype 4 and this one, I think, compete for that kind of sound. But again, the Hype 4 also, you got to remember that it's like definitely boosted in the air frequencies in the upper treble. That's its issue. And if what my description of the Dusk here doesn't sound appealing for that upper treble quality, the Hype 4 is not going to improve on that at all. In fact, I would say the Hype 4 might even be more like that. So you've been loving your Hype 4s. Yeah, I was very impressed with the Hype 4. Like I was nodding, like I was listening to the Hype 2, the Hype 4, and the Hype 10 all in succession, and I was like, I listened to the Hype 2 first, and I was not impressed at all. I was like, this ain't it. And so I was not expecting the Hype 4 to be, as good as it was, and it was nearly perfect. I was like, wow, this is exact, like for the tuning, it was almost exactly what I wanted. And then the Hype 10 was just not as good again. So Hype 4 was definitely very good to my ear. Versus IE600, I found the IE600 to be too spicy and sibilant, so I couldn't listen to it very much. So yeah, I would take this over the IE600 for sure. But there is one nice thing about the IE600, and it is that unique fit style, whereas these are very thick and chunky compared to, like, the IE600 is really small, and so that might be a reason to go for the IE600. I just find that the tuning of the IE600 is not quite my tempo. All right, what is reasons? A lot of people need speakers and a good sub. Yeah, like if you've never had the experience of good speakers, it's worth having. Yeah, and I would actually say, like, if you've heard the Blessing 3, this is very different from the Blessing 3. Don't think that these are similar. Let's put it that way. All right, let me just pop this back to the regular cable, and then I'll get listener on the call as well, and we will discuss further. Hopefully without clipping issues. And I apologize for this, the quality of this stream. I am in shambles today, just utter shambles. It'll get better for the next one. I hope. I shouldn't promise that because I can't. All right. I need to get one of those things like the ping.gg or whatever the stream platforms are, because we do these on a regular basis, and it'd be good if we could do these without the technical issues that we consistently run into. All right. I've returned. All right. Let me just grab a boy. It's going to be... can you hear me? I cannot hear you if you're talking, but maybe it's on my end. What is happening? Why can't... Hold on. No, it's definitely on my end. This is the same... I'm running into the same issues as I was before. Okay. I'm going to throw a listener up on the screen here to give his take while I fix my shit. All right, listener, you are live. Oh, can people hear him? Hold up. False alarm. No, I can't hear you now. We cannot hear you. You're not coming through for some reason. All right, false alarm. I thought it was on my end, but it could be on his end. We'll fix it. Yeah, my audio is working. It's not me, dude. It's you. It could also be Discord. Hold on, let me just give me a second here. It could be the Discord. Yeah, it's probably Discord. All right, say something again.
Hello, can y'all hear me?
I think we can. All right, let me...
In the chat?
I think we're good.
Hold on a sec.
All right, say something again.
Hello, we good? We're all Gucci? Yeah, what's up, guys? There it is. All right. So I've had it for, I think, 24 hours longer than Andrew has had it. I haven't been able to explore too many of the presets or anything like that. I don't have an Android phone. I'm an iOS boy. So this is mainly going to be me talking about the analog and the default.
Is there no iOS thingy?
So it's in beta testing, and I did download it on my partner's USB-C iPad, but it did not recognize the device when I plugged it in. It's a beta version of the old version of the app, so it's not the 2.0 version.
Okay.
So iOS people gonna have to wait or gonna have to bother one of their friends with an Android device, which is what I had to do to put my preferred EQ onto the DSP cable, which we'll talk about. But so starting with the analog preset, similarly to Andrew, my biggest problem was definitely in the upper treble. You can definitely hear that there is a planar IEM thing going on up there around, I think the measurement showed us at 14,200 hertz. I have it a little bit lower at like 13.9 kilohertz, something like that. The lower treble is actually pretty nice, even in analog mode. It's not, crazy glary or anything like that, which I liked. But even if it did have an emphasis there, I'm not sure I would notice it because of how forward the upper treble is. Moving down from there, upper mid kind of pin up compensation peak is solid. It's not too forward or anything like that. There's definitely some forwardness in the 1 to 2K region,
Yeah,
which
with
was a
analog.
big thing with the analog. Yeah, this is
Yeah,
all analog I'm talking about right
yeah.
now. Um, there was definitely a little bit of forwardness there. Now, the benefit to the forwardness there is that I actually did kind of like how the bass presents on the analog mode. It is a little bit more snappy and a little bit more like kick drums sound a little bit more clappy and like they have a little bit more kind of texture to their front end of their transients. The lower mid range, because of that forwardness in the 1 to 2K is a little bit recessed for my taste. I would generally prefer like altering that balance so there's more low mid and less upper mid.
Even
And then the
more.
in analog.
Yeah, I'm
So I want less upper mid, less 1 to 2K,
okay.
more lower mid.
You want more? Okay, but like say the upper mid stays fixed.
Well, if the upper mid stays fixed, then yes, you would have to boost lower mid to offset it.
Okay.
Um, and then the bass was pretty unobjectionable. Honestly, the way I digested the new Dusk in analog was that it's very similar to the old Dusk, just with like planar tweeters. So like the bass mid upper mid area is largely the same. There's no, to my ear at least, no like weird 6K elevation like you get on the Blessing lineup because obviously they're different drivers used. Um, but then the upper treble is like way boosted, where I thought the Blessing 2 Dusk was actually like really good above like 8 kilohertz. Wasn't forward at all, wasn't like, glassy or plasticky or anything like that. It was very nice sounding up there. My main problem with Dusk was just the 1 to 2K area. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but that's the analog mode. I'm not a huge fan of it personally, but I think a lot of people who didn't like the original Dusk because they felt it was low res might actually prefer the analog version
That's kind of what I was saying.
of the
Like
new Dusk.
even with the comparison between the analog and the digital mode, where it's like it smooths it out, but like there might be people who prefer that crunchier kind of like upper treble quality because it's detailed.
So the thing is and we'll take this opportunity to just get into the default uh, DSP preset, which I don't think it's controversial to say this is the intended sound of the IEM.
Mhm. I
Like
would
the
agree.
analog mode, as much as it is, the sound you will get if you just use a normal IEM cable and plug it in, I don't think that's necessarily what Kryn spent all this time getting right. I think we should see this product as him designing an analog IEM for the sole purpose of being able to use as few filters as possible to get his intended sound. So that being said,
Mm.
starting from the treble as we did with the analog mode, on the DSP mode, you still get, or at least I still get, a little bit extra of that glassy, plasticky 14K bump from the planar tweeters for my taste. It's definitely, kind of it steers what would otherwise be a pretty like warm neutral IEM to be kind of a V shape to me. Other people might not feel that way. But to your point, he also kills a little bit of the 5-6K stuff, which in isolation I like if the upper treble is also curbed. But since you're getting a reduction there and not enough reduction in the upper treble, I did start to feel like there was an imbalance in the treble where the lower treble felt a little bit sucked out compared to the rest of it. However, when you cut that 14K more, I start to feel like the rest of the treble makes a lot more sense and just sounds like right to me.
Someone's saying there's
Um,
like no content at 14 kilohertz. That's wrong. There is content at 14, 15 kilohertz.
Yeah, whoever's saying that is not looking at a 5128 measurement because I mean even in
No, I
Crin's
think they
video.
mean with music, like there's limited.
I mean there's definitely content
Like,
up there. It's not like a lot. It's,
yeah,
the
but you
high end
listen,
of vocal
yeah,
sibilants,
or simple hits.
cymbals,
Yeah.
you know, even stuff like acoustic guitars, string instruments, really anything that has harmonics up there, it's not going to like meaningfully impact like the overall timbre of the instrument, but it can absolutely still sound
Depending on the
like too
instrument.
much.
Like, all you need to do is run an FFT with music. You'll see.
Yeah, yeah, plenty of things have content up there.
Yeah.
But anyway, so moving downward, we see that relative to the baseline we use at headphones.com, there's definitely a reduction at 3K, which I think most people are going to like, frankly. That's a big part of why I think the IEM like competes with a lot of other like really good mid-range sets like Mega 5 EST or the AudioSense DT200, and is arguably even better than those sets at its mid-range balance. Because
Certainly, I liked it better than the AudioSense DT200.
yeah, I mean, I think you couldn't get past the length mode
I could not.
for that one. But I assume you also had less problems with the length mode here too.
Sorry, I'm gonna turn you down here because people are saying I'm quiet again. I hate this. All right, now I'm probably clipping again. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you should turn yourself down and make them turn it up.
Yeah, okay. You guys just turn it up. I'm turning listener down as well. Sorry. Say what you said again. I missed that.
You didn't have any issues with the length mode on the Dusk, right? In either analog or DSP mode.
Uh, it's been a while, but
No.
no.
The one we're talking about now.
This one? No.
Yes.
No. Like, listening to it right now, I didn't notice this to be an issue the way I notice it on many other IEMs. But I haven't done a manual sweep. Should we do that?
I mean, you should probably do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me do that right now. I'll pull that up. I'll do that
Yeah, go for it.
while you're chatting.
So moving more into the mid range. You have that 3K adjustment. You have diffuse field adherent mids from between 200 hertz to 2 kilohertz. It's basically right on target with Crin's, intention, which is the diffuse field of the 5128 with a 0.8 decibel per octave downward slope with a 3K adjustment.
Just gave folks a brain massage.
I didn't.
You didn't hear it?
I didn't hear it, but yeah, no, they definitely got a brain massage.
Excellent.
But yeah, just want to be very clear. This is probably one of the best mid ranges you can get by just like plugging in your IEM end cable into a peripheral and listening. Like, I can't think of another IEM that really does mid range quite as well in out of the box formation. Now, obviously, it uses DSP to get there, because acoustically tuning that 1 to 2 kilohertz range to have that kind of contour that we're looking for is pretty hard. But regardless, when I took it out of the box and put the DSP cable on it and plugged it in, I was very pleased with the mid-range, which never happens, frankly. So Brownie points to Crin there. He clearly, got it right. No issues there.
It's actually, I was just going to say, compared to like the Singolo, it's like night and day for that.
Yeah, I haven't heard the Singolo, but I wouldn't be surprised if basically versus any single dynamic driver IEM, that it is a meaningfully more natural sounding mid-range, to me at least. So, moving on to the bass. I mean, I didn't sense any massive change in isolation between the analog and DSP versions of the bass, except for on bass instruments, not the bass region, bass instruments, which span, from the bass all the way up to, potentially 10K, usually more like 5K. I found that the pick attack of bass guitars was not as emphasized. It was a little less throaty sounding, a little bit more biased towards the fullness and the
Yeah.
first few overtones versus the later overtones. I found kick drums weren't quite as snappy and clappy, a little bit more focused on the fullness, the size, the decay, all that stuff, which was welcome for me. A huge issue I have with IEMs is that 1 to 2K region generally, so hearing something that, had appropriate bass emphasis and appropriate mid-range, that was enough to make me very happy. So as far as kind of Dusk DSP goes, my main issue is in the treble. And it's really just that 114K peak once you attack that with the included app, which has problems. I think anyone who's had to use the app will admit really quickly that it has a lot of issues. But once you attack that peak with like a Q of 2 or 3 cut to taste, I think most people will be very, very happy with this IEM.
Yeah.
And to that point, my intended or preferred preset with the Dusk is the default tuning, just with 14 kilohertz cut with a decibel of -9 and a Q of 3.
Were you able to do that in the app? For me, parametric EQ was blanked out.
Oh,
I don't know why. It's completely non-functional.
Did you use the app? It's the 2.0 version of the app.
Whatever Cameron sent me. So maybe there's a new version, but hold on. Let's see. Is there an about section?
Joel, there is not a 24 dB tilt preset. Also, I think it's funny that you guys think I'm a bass head. One of my potential issues with Dusk on the show floor at Can Jam was that it had too much bass for me in the default mode. After getting it at home and like being able to like walk around with it outside, the bass tuning choice makes more sense to me. Now I do a lot of my listening at home, so even this thing, like I'm pretty rarely gonna take this outside, especially because I don't have a phone with USB-C. So at home, I don't really need as much bass as I would out there. So my bass shelf is pretty modest. I think if I had to nitpick, I would maybe take a decibel less bass than is on the default preset. But I would also take 9 decibels less treble. So take with that what you will.
Which is par for the course for the way you feel about most products.
Yeah, but most products also don't have one of the best mid ranges on the market.
That's true. That's why I was kind of comparing it to the The-Audio Hype 4, where it's like they both have good mid range and good lower treble, or just good mid range and good treble, apart from the upper treble, where they both are just, they're making the bet that we often see manufacturers make when it comes to, people ascribing better resolution, detail, or technicalities to the upper treble lift. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's not like this.
Yeah, it's so much better.
Like this. Which, I mean, a lot of IEMs go for something like this.
They do.
And a lot of people like it.
Yeah.
I get that. It just doesn't work for me.
So we are now living in, or basking in, the High Senior Mega Fest glory of, correct tunings.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we can go, further than that, right? Like,
yeah.
But you still haven't heard Mega 5 EST, right?
No, but I'm trying to get us to get one in.
Got it.
Yeah, I'm lobbying hard to get. I want Taryn to be able to carry it. Actually, we'll see if we can.
Yeah, I mean, Doug obviously is very pleased with it.
Yeah.
So,
but to me,
but anyway, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, to me, it's like if I'm buying an IEM today at $350, I'm buying this one because,
yeah.
Like I think it's a no-brainer because of just how versatile it is. Yeah.
Yes.
Apart from like if you have issues with large shells, like that's the only reason I can see not to get this one.
That's a good point. I actually didn't talk about the ergonomics at all about this. The nozzle is like, in terms of like circumference, totally fine. I will say though, it has a kind of similar thing to the Helios. Where the nozzle, just for my ear, the nozzle is just a bit too long. So the shell doesn't like completely rest comfortably in my ear. It like just kind of juts out a little bit. um, which is not a deal breaker. And it's not necessarily uncomfortable. It's just something that it doesn't disappear in my ear. Like I notice it's there.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
have like for me the Helios was like intolerable to wear. I couldn't. So this
I
is not
actually
like
didn't
that at
mind it
all.
that much.
Yeah.
Again, the issue is mostly just that because it's a little bit long in the nozzle,
Yeah.
and the shell itself isn't small. The kind of center of gravity of the IEM, you can kind of feel it
Yeah.
like towards the outside of your ear instead of like being in your ear, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it does. I know what you mean. Yeah, no, just to kind of wrap up the value statement about this. Um to me, what I like about it, what I love about it is that it's kind of like finally this is given that there are so many different presets, right? And that there's this functionality with the Moondrop Free DSP, if it freaking works, because it is buggy. Let's be real. But it finally is like what, to me at least, it's finally a product that I'd be able to recommend to people so they can experience what it is that I'm experiencing when I'm diving into EQ, because they have it there available. Because normally you don't get that as an option. You never get that. And you're like, well, this is just how it is, like it or don't like it. And most people, they're spending $350 on an IEM or $500 or whatever, and that is the product that they have. And
Yeah.
they just have to hope that that fits with their preference, that fits with the length mode for their ear canal, that it fits
Yeah.
with, you know, all the various different factors that we mentioned. And now you have something like this that, provided that the actual shell ergonomics are suitable, you know, finally people get to experience this stuff the way that people who do EQ can. So that to me is
Yeah.
like big plus.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely the least expensive you can get that in a wired IEM.
Yeah, yeah,
Like 100%.
yeah. So to
Um
me, like the default sound profile, like no, sorry, not the default preset, but like the analog mode, could have been significantly worse, and it would have still been an exceptional product if the DSP stuff was all the way that it turned out to be.
yeah, again, I don't think the analog mode is the reason to buy this IEM.
Yeah,
So if anyone is, hoping for that, make sure you want uh your Blessing 2 Dusk with more treble. Um otherwise like
yeah,
it's really just for the DSP cable default preset.
yeah,
Because like I could have, like, if since I don't own an Android, I could have just used this stock out of the box and been okay with it.
yeah,
More okay than most IEMs. Um, but the fact that he gives you the option to use it with an included app where the EQ is stored on the cable,
yeah,
is huge. I mean, software issues aside, there isn't a product on the market like this yet. Except for Moondrop's other, cheaper offerings like the May, and the Chew 2 DSP and the Tension, whatever, which also share all the same software issues. Um,
but this is the future,
but
right? Like this is the way that these products are going, and I think I think they should go in this direction. The only issue that I have with it is a lot of people are getting these things for like home office desktop use. Like they've moved from over ears to in ears, and they're using it with their desktop setups. And in that scenario, it's actually a little bit more cumbersome to use a USB-C cable, because you got to figure out some method of getting that to work for you. Like
yeah,
for me, I would struggle. It's not going to reach my computer, for example. You had to
yeah,
have to figure out some situation, right? But
yeah,
that's the other way to think about it, though, is like, well, if you are at your desktop and you're plugging it in, you have all the EQ functionality available to you anyways. So you can't complain, really. And now that people have the DSP cable and have seen the light, well, once they get their chance to hear it, and they will have seen the light as to the benefits of this, I think that if anything, it should just push more people in the direction of trying to learn more about EQ. I think
it's the hope, right?
that's my hope, right? And that people
Yeah.
will understand the differences among for them for the different presets or for the different targets that may exist out there, right? Because you have a number of different ones there. I did want to just do a quick manual cursor-based sweep here. So if you guys will indulge me, there's a brain massage that is about to happen like you have never had before.
Yeah. After that, I have commentary on one bit that you said there, but go ahead and do sweep.
It's louder at 4.35, 4.5K. No.
I don't think that's the length mode. Keep going.
No, it's not. It's not. Louder at 4K. Slightly louder at 4K.
But that's
loud at 6.1K. That's the length mode.
Okay.
6.4K, really loud. 6.1 to 6.6 is the length mode for me. That is really loud. And then it's quiet again. There's a deep phase or some sort of null at 8.7K. 9K, it's also a bit of a null. 10K comes back, 11K, and then interestingly, not getting it at 14K. I get it the boost at 12.7, 13K.
Makes sense. You have a longer canal.
Yep. Anyways.
Yeah. So like length modes are not just the length mode.
The length mode,
like,
yes.
like there's a cascading series of wave resonances that happen after it. So yes, you having a longer canal means that will shift downward.
Yeah. So that's with the 3.5 millimeter analog mode, right? So I'm not going to do this with digital now, but I will eventually to see if that.
I mean, the resonances are going to be in the same place.
They're going to be in the same place, yeah. But is it reduced in DSP mode at 6K?
So he does cut like 5400 hertz or something like that.
That's a bit lower than it is for me for the length mode, but we'll see.
But I don't think he's doing that to cut the length mode. I think he's doing it to get it closer to JM1.
Exactly, yeah. Which, like, in my opinion, it's like length mode is going to be an issue for everybody and at various different places. And as long as you have it close to a population average for the treble, you're probably going to be okay. Right? You can't select, you can't tune a product for every person. You know, you have to be, at some point, you have to bite the bullet on somebody's length mode.
If it's going to be wired. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, to bring us back to what you said, you called this the future. And I think it's very tempting to agree with that. And I think, you know, in some ways it's true. Like, I think a lot of brands who have the means to pair their wired IEMs with a, you know, DSP product like this to improve the tuning makes sense.
Sorry, to be clear, I'm talking about like DSP in general, whether we're talking about with a Moondrop free DSP cable or if we're talking TWS, right? Like, sure. I think personalization, right, like this is the future.
So I think if we put all of that aside though, right, and it was just like, imagine DSP doesn't exist, cables do make an audible difference, and one cable sounds like the DSP cable on default mode and one cable sounds like the normal analog cable. We would not be praising like the special cable. We would be praising the sound of the better tuned IEM, right? So to me, what we should be touting as the future isn't necessarily DSP, even though that is likely where we're going. It's the result. It's
yes, but what I think that misses is the fact that people are like, if you took 100 people and you gave them this, like, we're going to have that. We're going to have lots of people buying this, I'm sure. Right, and the community is going to be filled with Crinacle DUSK 2s everywhere. And what I would love to know is what the data is on which presets people prefer.
Yeah, I mean that is a big reason why this product in particular is very cool.
Yeah, and
it does have all of that right on the app for this IEM.
What did you think of the Harman preset?
Oh, I didn't listen to it. I again. So
you didn't.
The only interaction I've had with the app was I drove around all of yesterday looking for a USB-C female to Lightning male adapter. Didn't find it at any of the stores near me. I went to my job to see if anyone there had an Android phone I could use. My buddy Angelo had one. He let me use his phone for the app. Let me install the terrible app on his phone. And I literally just went into the PEQ, cut 14K, disconnected, went home. Like I didn't touch any of the presets or anything like that because I don't have a device that works for it. But I mean, I think we can assume what my take on that would be.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Well, it's better than the variations, for shout.
The Harman preset?
Yeah.
So the thing is, my variations at home is a better measuring unit.
Oh, okay.
Like,
interesting.
Yeah, mine has like basically JM1 above 2K.
Praise be.
And then, so it's like very, very dipped in that like 4 to 7K area. And then it has a little bit more low mid than most variations I've seen.
Oh, okay. So you have the variation of variations.
Yeah, I would not take that as an example of
okay
Harman tuning anyway, because
mine
it sounds too
mine is definitely
good.
Harman.
Yeah, so my experience with the Nova is probably a more accurate comparison.
Yeah, this is way better than the Nova.
Yes, this is very, very, very.
But also for the Harman tuning, I would take this over the Nova.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know. You would know. No. I would trust your judgment on that.
Yeah, like it was less offensive to me. Like very clearly still Harman, very clearly still lean in the lower mids, and glary in the usual places.
Mm-hmm.
But not to the point where it was intolerable. I'll put it that way.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if that has to do with the difference between like treble damping's effect on, or driver choice's effect on the length mode. Like if you're EQing an IEM to Harman on your RAO 402.
Well, I'm not typically.
Not saying that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
But if you get a Harman like result on that from any old IEM, there's a part that's being omitted, which is the length mode because it's damped. And to an extent, the same thing is true of the 5128. But one wonders how that feature actually appears in your ear between different designs.
So I fully expect that for something like the Nova, I feel like it's a length mode issue. So if I compare the Nova to the EM6L, the EM6L is tolerable, the Nova is not. And,
interesting.
Yeah. But I actually attribute that more to the fact that the EM6L has a stronger bass boost in the mid to upper bass, so it kind of balances out some of the shrillness, and the shrillness is still there. So it could be length mode, could be slight changes in the tuning, 6 of one, half a dozen the other, right? Like, and so I think that with this one and the Harman preset here, certainly the way that this fits accommodates my ear canals better than for the length mode, but it's still there clearly, as we can see with the 6.1K peak. So so that's just something that I think, I mean, to me, all of it gets to, like, it's very frustrating to try and even like evaluate IEMs with the recognition that like this is going to be different for everybody. So it's like, well, I can't really do a subjective evaluation that holds much weight because it could be so different for somebody in that same spot,
Treble's tough. So we're getting people in chat asking what a length mode is, and I just want to clarify that for the people.
There's a video on this channel that's all about that.
Yeah, so you guys can go watch the Why IEMs Are Objectively Worse Than Headphones, is I think the title of the video.
Yep.
Yeah, that video gets very deep into a lot of the stuff we're talking about, as far as variation between listeners listening to the same products.
Yeah.
And yeah, the length mode in this case is just a byproduct of the distance between the IEM's driver and your eardrum. The length of that air volume has an inherent resonance and a half resonance at the half wavelength, quarter wavelength, etc. But we're talking about the half wavelength resonance, which is the resonance you see on, for example, Crinacle's 711 measurements. You'll see a peak. It's
usually
at
around
8K.
like 8K, yeah.
And that's usually
he deliberately aligns them there, but that's also in the
Yes.
older couplers that don't have the damped resonance peak, which the new ones you wouldn't see them on.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned his measurements, not your measurements, because
Yeah.
yours do not have them.
Yeah.
Oratory's measurements also have the same feature, also deliberately aligned to have that feature. And I think it corresponds to a length of roughly 22 millimeters from the microphone
As
capsule in the coupler to the driver of the IEM.
I thought you said 21.4.
It's something like that.
Okay, but as Blaine has mentioned, this is kind of like, I mean, yeah, we recently did that video, but Blaine mentioned the same thing a long time ago, which was that we fuss about aligning the length mode on IEMs for consistent readability, but in real people, this is going to be all over the place.
Yeah, I mean
So
that's why we need to measure it at multiple.
it doesn't. Yeah,
insertion depth.
it's kind of
Yeah.
like it's nice for a cleaner graph, or I suppose a cleaner comparison, but that doesn't mean that comparison is actually going to be real for people, because of how, like, all the various different factors to do with how the IEM fits in a person's ear. Like, for one person, it might fit further in, another person might fit slightly further out, and all of this can have an effect. And so you could have two IEMs normalized to 8 kilohertz for the length mode, but in practice, because of their shell ergonomics and shell design, be very differently received for people. So that's
and we just saw an example of it when you did the cursor-based
yep.
sweep. You found your length mode to be at around 6.1-ish kilohertz.
Yep.
And as a result of your canal being longer, it gets shifted down.
Well, we don't know that that's why, but or if it's to do with where the IEM is sitting.
Oh, like how
we don't know if it's my canal specifically, or
due
like how
to the
far.
length of the volume. But that also affects stuff above that frequency. Like you getting the resonance I get at 14K.
For me, it's a little lower
down. Yeah, down at around 13K.
Yep.
So that's something that everyone should be considering when we're talking about our impressions differing in IEMs, is that the peaks in the treble will vary based on our anatomy. So
yep, exactly. Anything else that you want to talk about? Like, people have been asking about comparisons.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of people have asked me to compare it to the Mega 5 EST, because that's a set that's been getting a lot of hype recently. I think in terms of bass, they're almost exactly equal. I don't really notice a huge difference between them. They both are a little bit on the kind of fuller, weightier side rather than like the snappy, articulate side of bass. This is all with the default DSP preset, by the way. The mid-range,
graphs up, by the way.
Do I have graphs?
Did you get the graphs up on the tool?
Oh, on Wisely? No, I can do that right now.
On the thing, well, it's not that critical. People don't know what that is, and they won't know what that is until we make it public.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Okay, hold on. So the thing is, for my...
Colin, after I did the manual cursor-based sweep, he said, just gave about 700 people tinnitus, DT99 listeners in critical, or DT990 listeners in critical condition. Accurate. I'm sorry, DT990 folks.
Okay, so I'm gonna just upload an average of left and right channel for DSP and analog.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your comparison there with the
No, it's fine. So the Mega 5 EST, I find it equal in bass. I find it a little bit less warm and to my preference in the mid-range. I prefer the mid-range on the Dusk. It's again warmer. It has that 3K adjustment I think most of us like.
Well, as we know, that this, from Dr. Olive's research, this is a feature that people typically do seem to care about.
Yeah, and I'm interested, frankly, to know why. That's something
I think
Joel's been talking about a little bit.
Joel's hypothesis is correct.
I think so too.
Yeah.
As are many of his hypotheses. But Yeah, so the mid-range I do prefer the Dusk. It's warmer, it's fuller, but it's not cloyingly warm like for example the DT200 can tend to be. A lot of people, even though it's kind of a nice DFE mid-range in the, I guess, like 500 and up mid-range, there is an excess of low mid-range bloom that can kind of make
Sorry,
something sound
on
occluded or stuffy
Megafest?
or no, I'm talking about the
On
DT200 now.
Oh, okay.
The Megafest goes a little bit too much in the other direction, so a little bit too much in the Harman bass tuck kind of direction. Obviously, it's nowhere near something like the Variations, but it is a little bit too cold and thin in the mid-range for me. Even though it's better
I
than
get why you prefer the
most
Dusk with
IEMs.
DSP by default preset then, or with default preset then, because that
Yeah,
definitely like
yeah.
smooths that area out.
Lifts the
Like,
low mids a bit,
yeah,
uh, dips down the 1 to 2K a bit, and then has the 3K adjustment, which
it
I like.
it definitely gives it a bit of like, I don't know, like I almost call it like hardness to the lower mid range, but it's not that. It's like a
It's kind of like a hardness in the center and
in
upper
the
mid
yeah
range.
yeah 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 exactly in the center of the mid range. Yeah, it's weird just making up terms, but like that's what comes to mind for some reason.
Yeah, no, like uh it makes drums sound like they're being hit harder.
Yeah, that's
Um,
exactly what I'm thinking of.
yeah, yeah,
Leave
yeah.
it to two
But
drummers
like,
to come up with the same descriptions.
that's actually what happens when
Yeah,
you play a drum harder. The balance of overtones starts to overtake the fundamental.
yeah,
So it
yeah.
is yet another situation where like the terms make sense and are useful, but it really does help to
Yeah.
describe them.
Sorry to what you were saying about the DT200 versus the Megafest
Oh,
versus the.
yeah, I had finished that thought.
Okay.
It was just about the mid range, but and then
Okay.
the treble is kind of where things get sticky. Um, I don't really have a concrete preference between the two because both of them get the same thing right, which is the kind of 4 to 7K area is meaningfully dipped under, frankly, what most IEMs have, closer to our beloved JM1 target.
Oh, but DT200 is not.
DT200 is not, but Mega 5 EST and Dusk in its DSP preset default
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
But they both have issues
So
above 10K.
just to clarify, we should stop thinking of it as dipped because I think we should probably
Yeah,
think of it more
adherent
as
to the right target.
closer to a population average.
Yeah,
Yeah. Whether that is the right target or not is yet to be determined. We don't know that. But at the very least, we know it's closer to a population average DFH or TF.
that is correct. Those should be up on the
On the
unnamed
thing.
site now, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Zach says, are you feeling like the Dusk is too zingy in the upper treble? With the analog mode, yes. I feel like with the digital mode, no. I feel like with the digital mode, it's fine. Listener feels that with the digital mode, it probably is still a little bit too zingy, but better. And for me, like I wouldn't really feel the need to change that. The one thing I noticed with the digital mode with the treble was that it sounded more balanced, but at the same time, that mid treble, like it was almost like less precise or less focused for certain recordings, like for the way that the S's, F's, and T's came across. I noticed it was more focused with the upper treble lift, but that's something that can often happen, is it can impart that extra sort of edginess to it.
Yep.
So it's really just, to me, that's like, okay, yeah, people may have a preference for one way or people may have a preference for the other way. And I know what I like. I definitely prefer it with the DSP, but I can't say with absolute certainty like this is the better way to do it for people, because maybe people will be like, oh my god, the resolution with the upper treble is better.
Yeah,
So
and I mean, I don't know what Crin's thought process is there, but I know that
technicalities, someone said it.
right, like I know that certain people working on IEMs want to maintain
Yeah.
excess, in my opinion,
Well,
excess air
I
above
will
10K
say
so that people have that impression or
it
are
is
more likely to
still it is still better though now compared to the insanity of everybody cramming like all those electrostatic, like the E-stat drivers in. Like, do you remember, did you ever listen to the Tri Audio Starlight?
No, I didn't. I know what the graph looks like
It's
though.
insane.
It's
It's
yeah, it's
insane.
crazy.
So,
It's crazy.
yeah. So it's nice that things are a little more reserved than that now, but I think they still are kind of going for broke with treble extension too much. Um, so yeah,
Yeah, no, I agree that we're trending towards something better. Um, someone Orange and
truffle
Black asked
extension. I want to try that, whatever that is.
someone asked how new Dusk stacks up to old Dusk. With the DSP, it's a clear, like straightforward upgrade.
Yeah,
Like you should have no compunctions about buying the
it's
new
worth
Dusk if you want
the
an upgrade to the old Dusk.
it's worth an extra $30 or however much more it costs. It's easily worth it.
Yes. And it is also more ergonomic. So,
Okay, here's a question though.
what's up?
Wait, you find it more ergonomic?
The
I
three
find it pretty
Dusk
similar.
versus the old Blessing 2
I
Dusk?
don't have. Yeah, well, it's somewhere. I haven't compared it.
Yeah. The old Dusk had a much bigger nozzle.
Oh, it had a
Well,
bigger nozzle.
not much, but yes, bigger.
Okay, this
Definitely.
is 5.7 millimeters, so maybe that was an improvement that they did.
Oh, did you measure that on the stream?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't
5.7
catch that part.
millimeters.
That's pretty damn normal.
5.6 to
I mean, I guess
5.7, depending on where you do it.
I
Anyway.
guess that explains why I'm pretty happy with the comfort on this.
or they kept it the same and your ears have just expanded over time.
Maybe I am wearing a lot more IEMs lately. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, so here's
someone
a
asked
question for
again.
you.
Oh, go ahead.
Do you think that for people who have the old Dusk, do they need to bother upgrading?
That's a good question. If they're happy with it, I mean, no. Yeah. If you're happy with whatever you have, you don't need to do anything. But I do prefer this. There is a meaningful caveat that if you are not an Android user or not like using USB-C on your home laptop or something, you're not really going to be able to get like the intended benefits of this product. Like, it's just that is a limitation that's just kind of inherent to the way the product is designed and delivered. But otherwise, if you want what is probably the most natural mid-range tuning under $1,000,
I don't know, man.
what do you think would have a better mid-range tuning?
No, I would say that the Audio Hype 4's mid-range tuning is bang on, or very, very close.
Really?
Yeah.
Sorry,
when I say mid-range, I'm including things that people may also include as like upper mid-range and treble or lower treble, right? Like the balance between mid-range and treble is good.
Oh,
I would say so like for me, for mid-range, there's a bunch of them that are in consideration, and I would include the Dusk in that. I wouldn't say that it's categorically better than the Hype 4 for me for mid-range tuning. But you're defining it more along the lines of like the lower mid-range, right?
Yeah, I mean, and the upper mid-range. So I haven't heard Hype 4. All of the measurements seem to indicate that it's kind of like Mega 5 EST.
Yeah.
Where it's like a little bit, less shouty and full in the low mid-range than
well, so the relative balance does bring it in line, right? Because you know what I mean, how like you have like the Nova where it's like dipped and shouty, so you get like the lean and glare, and then if you pull back, you can kind of fix it by doing one of two things, either filling it in or reducing the upper treble, reducing the upper mid range, right? You can kind of balance it out that way, and I feel like with the Hype 4, it's kind of done both, where it's like it's not like it's both not as dipped and not as shouty, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. No. I mean, that was my. I mean, I haven't heard it, but that was my impression of the measurement, at least. But it's still, like not.
Yeah.
Like tilted as much as I would like, and even the Dusk isn't. It's probably a little bit on the leaner side.
Really? I don't find it on the leaner side at all for like.
So the thing is, the 3K adjustment. The 3K adjustment really makes it so it's not lean at all.
Yeah.
But just in terms of like the low mid range to like 1K balance, if there were a little bit more low mid range around like 400 hertz, I think it would be welcome to me.
Someone
the issue
says,
is like
normalize the definition of mid-range as 250 to 2000. That's actually not unreasonable, and that is
That's very reasonable.
Yeah, didn't Dr. Olive do it at 2.5K for a treble shelf? That's kind of in that ballpark. But the thing is, in Rue, we have those designations that refer to it as upper mid-range all the way up to like 4 kilohertz. So I think people are
and
reading
honestly,
off of that.
I'm inclined to kind of agree with at least that definition of like mid-range to upper mid-range to like presence. Like to me, the presence region 4 to 6K is a region that shares qualities of both areas in its periphery. So like for certain instruments, it can play the role of upper mid-range, like in guitar. Like 4K is a very like grating, shouty, edgy upper mid-range type character. But on something like a bowed string instrument, it's more like treble.
See, but that is also referring to it in terms of how various different instruments sound.
Yes, which is how we need to judge transducers more. Instead of just talking about the bass is good,
Yeah,
we need
exactly.
to talk about
I
this affects
suppose,
bass instruments like X.
Yeah. Okay. With all of that in mind, guys, we need to end the stream here because we have a meeting shortly after this.
What?
We
Lame.
do have a meeting. So what I'm gonna say is, for folks who are interested in the full video of the Crinacle X Moondrop Dusk 2, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. We will be doing a full video review. And we're going to include all the measurements of all the different presets on the. We'll have the 5 and 2/8 measurements. We'll also have the Gross data as well. Maybe we'll do this. We'll include listener as well in that video. We'll see if we can make that work. Because we're actually hoping for more folks to have it, but I think you and I are the only ones who have it so far from our team. So look forward to that soon. But in the meantime, by dusk. I would agree. I think it's great.
Obligatorily by dusk.
Okay. Yes. All right, guys. Have a good rest of your week, and we will see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.
Later, y'all.